In this video, I'm going to show you how to make it so that when you click a part, it takes a screenshot. Okay, so I stumbled upon this dev forum post recently, and I stumbled upon something called capture service. Now I'm going to show you capture service in a regular server script. However, it only works in a local script, okay? Because the whole point of capture service is that it takes a screenshot of the current player, right? Which is why because it works with the current player, it has to be in the local script. So I'm going to work in the server script, but I just want to show you like its functions, events, and like kind of tell you what they do, and then show you all of that in a local script. So what I'll do is I'll make a variable for capture service, and I'll do game get service capture service. And apparently they have video capture service as well, which I'll cover in a future video. So let's begin with the actual functions of the service. Okay, so I'll do CS, and then I'll do a colon, because that's how you get functions. And we have the basic ones like wait for child, get children, like every single like item has that. But then the functions that are unique to capture service, yeah, so the very first one we have is capture screenshot. Okay, so what this will do is it's just going to capture a screenshot, right? And then it's going to require something called on capture ready, which is a data type of any, and that kind of rhymes. Okay, now what this on capture ready is it basically wants a function. So for example, when I capture a screenshot, right, this on capture ready thing should be a function. Okay, so I'll say function like so, and then inside of this function that we just created, or maybe you already have a function, right? So maybe you have a local function some func like so. I cannot type today, bro. So what you could do is you could just say some func like so, right? So this would also work. Okay, now the other thing that this capture screenshot thing actually gives you, right, is so you could either have your own function, or you could just make a new function, and it's going to give you the actual ID of the screenshot, right? So this ID is going to be temporary, because once it makes a screenshot, it needs a way to kind of store it, right? So it's going to create like a temporary ID. It's going to be called like Roblox asset / like 1 or 5 or something. Like I'll show you how it looks like, right? And then you can use that capture ID to either prompt the player to share the picture or to save the picture, right? So you can call this whatever you want. I'll just call this capture ID. But again, you can call this like literally whatever you want. Like you can just call it blah, 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 and it's going to work, okay? Like so. So what this is going to do is it's going to capture the screenshot, which I'm thinking right now, actually, as we're slowly transitioning into me actually showing you the stuff, I'm going to copy all of this. I'll delete the script, and then I'll put this in an actual local script, okay? So that it's actually going to work. And so what I could do right now is I could just print the capture ID, okay, just to show you how it's actually gonna work. It's gonna run the code, take the screenshot, and then yeah, so it's gonna print out the content ID or the capture ID. I don't know, I forgot what I wrote, and it's rbx temp ://0. So it's a temporary content ID that just says 0, and then it's gonna get deleted, and yeah, and I have a button here which allows me to take screenshots. But as you can see, that didn't print anything, right? Because I didn't take a screenshot via code, right? I just took a regular screenshot. So if, there are ways to detect when a player just takes a screenshot, either by clicking on the button or via code, right? So I'll actually share how to do that as well. But yeah, so as you can see, right, because this prints it out, we know that a screenshot was taken. But what can we actually do with that, right? Because like okay, fine, a screenshot was taken, but like now what? How can we let the player know that a screenshot was taken, okay? So I showed you capture screenshot already, right? And then we only have 2 more functions, right? The first one being prompt save captures to gallery, which is basically going to take a table of, your like content IDs or capture IDs or whatever you want to call them, and then basically return a table which basically says like which captures the user saved and which ones they didn't, okay? And then the last function is just prompt share capture, where you give it a content ID, you give it launch data, which I'll explain what that is in a bit. And then you basically give it a function that's going to run if the user accepts the share, and a function that's going to run if the user declines sharing. So I'll show you prompt share capture for now, okay? Like so. Now the thing is, this prompt share capture does require the actual ID of the photo, okay? So what I'll do is I'll actually take this and I'll put this inside of here. So once a screenshot is actually taken and we get the capture ID, I'm gonna immediately run the prompt share capture, okay? So it needs the content ID, which we have. What launch data is effectively in case you don't know what join data is like whenever a player joins, right? They have data associated with that, right? So you could check basically how the player joined the game, right? You could check whether the player joined the game by themselves or whether the player joined the game when like a player invites them, right? So stuff like this. What this launch data does is it basically gives the player whatever string you type here. Like I could literally type in 123. And then if the player joins the game thanks to the screenshot that I shared to them, then inside of their join data, they're gonna have this string called 123. Okay. So you could do something like joined via screenshot, right? So basically, and then you can, check the join data of any players who joined. And if you can detect that they have this thing, if you can detect that they have joined via screenshot in as part of their join data, then you can know that they joined thanks to a screenshot, right? And then you could also like attach, you could also just do like, I don't know, game.players.localplayer.name, right? So you could also attach the name of our current player so that you know who actually invited like this new player via screenshot, right? So again, this is just join data stuff, but you do need something for join data, okay? So you can't just leave it blank. And then you need accepted callback and on denied callback. So you need all four of these. You need all the content ID, launch data, accepted callback, and denied callback, okay? So again, if you have a pre-existing function, you could just write that function there. If you don't have a function, and if you don't care if the user accepts or denies, like what I tend to do, because it still needs me to actually give it a function, I just say function, and then I just write end, like so, function, end, right? Because this starts a function and it ends it. So Roblox considers this as like a full function, right? So it's gonna accept it. If I really wanted to, right? What I could do again is I could just make like for example, let's say if you maybe you want to encourage players to share screenshots, and then if they share it, maybe you want to give them like 10 coins in your game, right? What I would do is I would say local function give coin, okay? And so then obviously instead of doing function end for unaccepted, I'll just say give coin, like so. So then whenever, if the player does accept, it's gonna run this function, which I can just say print gave player 10 coin, okay? Like so. So now if I play the game, let's see what happens. There we go. Obviously it was loading, okay? So all we saw was just the skybox. But yeah, would you like to share your capture? No thanks or share. If I say share, then remember it's gonna run the give coin function, which will print out gave player 10 coin. Had I said no thanks, it would run the other function, which would just do nothing, okay? So it wouldn't print gave player 10 coin, which is pretty sad. Now the other function, like I showed you, is prompt save captures to gallery, okay? What this needs is it needs a list of content IDs, right? Now, if you only have one content ID, that's fine, but you just need to put it in a table, okay? Like so. So that's how you make a table, curly brackets, and then here I could just put the content ID, okay? And then the other thing it needs is a result callback. So it basically needs another function, okay? Just like accepted callback and denied callback, it just wants a function, okay? So I can give it that, like so. And it's actually going to give something to this function, which is a table of the content IDs, right? But then the table is going to have true or false values associated with those content IDs. So what do I mean? Okay, so let me actually give it a name. So I'll give it save table, right? So again, you can name this whatever you want. I'll just call it save table, and let's print the save table. Okay, let's print it. Okay. So what we're doing here is, we're doing our, capture screenshot stuff, blah, blah, blah. We're making prompt save captures to gallery. We're giving it a list of the screenshots that we're prompting the user to save to their gallery. And then once the user actually saves, well, then it's going to basically like allow us to run this function. And then Roblox is going to give us a table, which will basically tell us what pictures the user saved and what pictures they didn't save. Okay. So if I play the game right now, like so, yeah, would you like to save your captures? Sure, I'll save them. Well, then the table, so it's going to have, my link, and it's going to make it equal to true, right? because I saved the image. Had I not saved the image, it would make it equal to false. And that's it for functions. Okay, so as you can see, we have capture screenshot, which, takes the screenshot. You can prompt the user to save to gallery, which, will then ask for all the parameters, and then will give you a table of the captures, and then we'll give you the results. We'll give you a table of, true or false, depending on, what you saved and what you didn't. And then you can also prompt the user to, what else was it? Oh yeah, to share the capture. Okay. So let's talk about events. All right. And events can be accessed using a dot. Okay. What events are, because functions are things that you run yourself, right? Functions are like, okay, do this. But events are basically things which are going to like listen out for things. Okay. So for example, when something happens, then do this. That's what events are, right? Like when the user saves a screenshot, I want you to do this. That's kind of what an event is. So let me show you all the events that we have. We have user capture saved, which will fire whenever the user presses a button to save a capture. We have capture began, which will fire right before a screenshot is taken. So this is useful because then you can like hide like maybe some GUI, because maybe you want the user to take a screenshot and like you want to hide all of the buttons that the user has, right? And then capture ended is for when the screenshot stops being taken. So then you can like bring back all of the buttons and whatnot. And then we have capture saved, okay? Which, like we have user capture saved and we have capture saved, okay? What I did some playtesting because the documentation isn't really clear with this, right? What I came to kind of realize, and this might not be the correct answer, but user capture saved seems to run when the user presses a button to actually save a capture, okay? But then capture saved seems to run regardless of whether a user did anything or not. So capture saved seems to run when a capture is just saved at all, okay? And then user capture saved seems to run specifically only when a user like presses a button to save. So if it's somehow in a situation a capture gets saved without the input of a user, then user capture saved would not run, but capture saved would, right? And then if a user presses a button to save a capture, then both of them would run, okay? And let's see, is there anything I'm missing? No, okay. So I'll begin with user capture saved, okay? And then so what you do is you connect that to a function, right? Which will give you the capture content ID. So it's going to give you the ID of the picture that the user saved, right? So function, I'll just call it content ID as we did before. And then I'll just print content ID, okay? And so now that we created this event, what I'll do then is I'll do the same thing where I'll say CS, we'll quickly do the whole thing where like we say, okay, capture screenshot, we'll do function, we'll get the content ID, we'll do the whole CS prompt, prompt save captures, okay? We're gonna give it the content ID, and then we're gonna give it the other function with the save table, okay? I'm not gonna bother printing the table or anything. I just added this so that the user is able to save to their gallery, and then once it's saved, then this will run and then print our content ID. So notice how I'm not printing it anywhere except for here, okay? I'm just letting you know because like, then if it prints, we know that our event worked, okay? So would you like to save it? Yes, and there we go. So it actually prints it as like an actual image now because it has .png, right? Because we saved it, right? So this gives it to as like an actual photo instead of just a temporary ID, right? Which is pretty cool. So then what else do we have? Okay, we have CS capture began. All right, so I can connect that to a function. I don't believe this gives you anything. So yeah, I don't think this gives you like a content ID or whatnot. This just fires whenever, like right before a screenshot is taken. So I can print taken, and then we have CS capture ended, which will run right after a capture is ended. And then I could print out print ended, okay? Now, there is one thing with this, which I'm not too sure of, but let me show you, okay? Yeah, as you can see, it took a screenshot, but it didn't actually print anything, okay? So I did some playtesting, and I believe that this capture began and capture ended. And you know, again, if this is wrong, correct me, but I don't think it is, because it didn't print out taken and ended, like it didn't print them out. But if I were to use this button, which is, in case you don't have that, you just go to settings, captures, and then you turn on captures, right? So you turn them on, like so. And then if I take a capture like that, then it says taken and then it says ended, okay? So taken, ended, like so. So then it works. So it works when I'm pressing this button. But it seems to not work when I capture a screenshot via code, right? And I've even tried doing things like waiting. So I like waited for, so I'm like, okay, maybe I'm just doing it too fast. So you know, I did the event and I'm like, okay, I did the event and then let's wait and then take a screenshot, okay? And like, it's still not gonna work, right? So yeah, fine, I'm in here, let's wait for our 5 seconds. Would you like to save your captures? I don't know, no thanks, whatever. And you see, it doesn't do anything, right? But it does something when I take a capture like this, which I'm not sure if that's intentional or not, but it's just a way it works, okay? And then we have capture saved. So I showed you user capture saved, and then we have the regular capture saved, like so. So I'll connect it, and it's going to give us something called capture info. So I'll call it capture info, and then I'm going to print the capture info. Capture info, like so. So then let's see how this is going to work, okay? Would you like to save your capture? Yes. So it's going to print us out the actual ID, like I showed before, and also a file path, right? Which, you know, it's going to dox my name real quick, right? So yeah, users, library, Roblox, user captures, and then the file path here. Now, if I were to actually take a picture like this, right? Like this, then it's going to print out content ID, file path, okay? Which I'm slowly now beginning to realize maybe that's what the difference is between user capture saved. Because maybe user capture saved does not work on these buttons. So look, okay, let me save. Okay, it's gonna print out, you know, the stuff that it did before. And never mind. Okay, so yeah, so both of them work for both scenarios, okay? So the only difference between user capture saved and capture saved is that they just print out different things. And I believe capture saved will run when a capture is saved just at all. And then user capture saved will only run when a user specifically presses a button to save, right? Or like just when the user does some input, right? So if the user presses on this, right, then it saves. Then that makes sense, right? But yeah, so what I would personally do is I would just use user capture saved, because when I was checking documentation, I didn't see them talk about capture saved, right? So I would only see them talk about user capture saved and not capture saved. So if they're talking about user capture but not capture, I would personally be using user capture because, I don't know, maybe they're going to remove this function later on, okay? So that's basically how you use the service, and like I showed you before, let's make a thing where when we click on a part, we take a screenshot, okay? And this will be very easy, okay? So I'm just going to create a part, like so. Maybe, actually no, I'm going to make it a sphere, okay? And then inside of a sphere, I'll add a click detector, okay? So basically, this click detector will allow me to detect whenever someone clicks on it. And what I could do is I could just take this function, like so, and then I could just say workspace.part.click detector dot mouse click connect function. It's going to give us the player who clicked, which we know because we're in a local script. And then I could just do this. So whenever, or no, actually no, what we could do is we could check, okay? So I could do this and I could say if game.players.localPlayer is equal to the player who clicked, then we take the screenshot. Because like if our player is the one who clicked, then we want to take the screenshot. But if it's some like other player who clicked, we don't care about that, okay? So now if I play, you know, let's see what happens, okay? Part is not a valid member of, right, this is where you use wait for child, okay? Workspace wait for child part. There we go. Because the part was loading and so it couldn't find it, right? And let's see, is this gonna work? My mouse is bugged. There we go. Would you like to save your captures? Save. I click on it. Would you like to save it? No thanks. I can move here. Would you like to save it? Sure. Would you like to save it? No thanks. And then I think if I can go to my captures menu, yeah, then I can see all these captures. And I think I can straight up just like download them from Studio, which is pretty cool. Or I could delete them. Yes, delete. I don't want them to clog up all of my storage. But as you can see, it is pretty cool how it works, where it just added on the Roblox logo for a bit. And what's funny is that it doesn't add the Roblox logo when it's still loading. So I assume when it's still loading, the Roblox logo doesn't even exist yet, which is pretty funny, because we're technically breaking the screenshots. And yeah, there we go. So that's how you do it. You know, that's pretty cool. Check out the comments and the description for my amazing epic like $14 course or whatever. Leave a comment because I do want you to tell me how you would use the service, right? And also just, I don't know, let me know what you want to see next, because I know Roblox keeps adding a bunch of stupid stuff. Like they changed the UI, the user interface, which I think is stupid. Like nobody was complaining, you know what I mean? But yeah, you know, let me know what you want to see next. And we are back to basics. Thank you for watching.